You are touted as a star right now in the evangelical educational firmament. There's huge expectations on you. I mean, and I have a sense that you have a clear idea of how you want to influence the institution that you preside. And I see that you live a very accelerated, intense lifestyle, high energy. I envy your energy, by the way, and the capacity to divide it among a lot of different competing demands. But I often do wonder. I mean, how do you keep yourself vital spiritually?
Yeah.
How do you make sure that your family is well taken care of in terms of your presence there, warmth, and so on? I think you have a very sympathetic wife who's also a highly gifted person herself.
Yes.
So that helps a lot, I'm sure. And who's also very involved in the life of the university. So I'm sure that's very different than having a housewife who just stays at home and that's it. But I can imagine that with all the expectations that are on you and having to jump in and not even take off your parachute to enter into a high level presidency, there must be a lot of conflict as to how to keep yourself in balance and exemplify that balance yourself.
Well, a couple of things. I feel a great privilege to be serving at Gordon College. It's practically the only institution I can imagine I would be happy serving as president, because I believe so deeply in the mission, and I feel deeply aligned with where Gordon is at this moment. I do really feel called to what we're doing, and so that has a way of catalyzing energy in ways that if I didn't feel called to it, I think it would be really hard to spend the amount of time and energy that's required for the role. But I love it. I love Gordon. I love the opportunity. I love what I'm doing. I'm very bullish on our future. The thing that I'm really hopeful is that I want to bring my real deep commitment to studying great leaders into action to developing great leaders. And my hope is that within 3 years' time, Gordon would be seen as the preeminent place for developing Christian leaders among all Christian colleges in the world. That's my goal for 3 years, and within 5 to 7 years, my hope is that we be recognized for developing great leaders of integrity and of faithfulness among all liberal arts colleges, not just Christian colleges, so that we would be known as, that in my opinion would be a great way of being salt and light in higher education, for folks to come and say, clearly you're doing something unique here in developing great leaders. What can we learn from you? So that's what compels me, and that's my hope of what we could offer. As far as the work-life balance, I'm a very disciplined person. I've always sort of been able to live a pretty structured life. So I'm very focused on time, and I see it as my most precious commodity, my most precious resource. So I'm really intentional about how I can make sure to save time to be able to spend with my girls and with my wife. So I have 3 daughters. And we've had to adjust that. The presidency is one of those things that there's lots of night work, lots of travel, lots of weekend obligations. And I work long hours. But we've carved out a couple of sort of ground rules that work. And my wife reviews my schedule. I review my travel schedule with her. We figure out.
Does she have veto power?
She does. Rebecca does. I mean, if Rebecca says to me, it's very, very important that you be here for this meeting with our daughter's school, or to be able to go on this doctor's appointment, then we rearrange things. We also have figured out a way to incorporate Sabbath rest into our family's lifestyle. So we're very intentional. We actually go to a late service on Sunday afternoon, and we use most of the day of Sunday to be just our family time. And it's the only time when there's nobody in our house. There's no email that's going on. We're really focused on one another. And I think that that's been a real salvation for our family, to be able to keep that sense of grounded. That said, we make lots of mistakes. I work really long hours, and I'm constantly needing to be held accountable. And I have a wife who has got a good, strong personality who can make sure that I hold that in check.
Yeah, well, I think any realm of great leadership and demanding leadership, such as the one that you occupy, even in a minor scale, such as the one that I am involved in, pastoring a congregation.
That's not a minor scale, Roberto.
Well, compared to your scale, of influence. But I think that it is an agony that Christian leadership will always be facing. How to distribute your time among these different competing demands. I know personally one of the things that keeps me in tension at times is the need to be a good pastor at the local level, to shepherd my people, to be attentive to the major aspects of my institution, such as finances and governance and building projects, and of course preaching and teaching and developing leaders and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I do feel an increasing call to be involved at a larger level in the city, in the region, in other parts when I have the opportunity to go teach outside of the country even.
Yes.
And because I do feel that also enriches the work that I do, at the level of my institution.
Yeah.
So there's always that competing element between the visionary work that one does and the contributions that one can make to the greater world out there as a result often of the more local micro work that one does. One gleans insights that can sometimes help other pastors to develop themselves, churches, church growth elements, healthy church aspects, and so on and so forth. So that I do feel a call and a duty to tithe at the very least some of those insights and benefits of the work that I do at the local level with the greater world. But there's always a tension there, and of course, then there's the element of family and of keeping yourself strong before the Lord, having times of prayer and reading the Word and staying in love with ministry and so on, and working in self-development and self-mastery, which I think is so crucial to good leadership as well. So I don't think you can ever escape. Again, you learn to live in the tension, in the competing dimension of all these different things, and I think that makes you stronger. If you live there and you try to keep attentive to those various aspects, knowing that you're always going to fail in one way or another. It's just simply where do you put the balance today?
Yes.
But you're always taking away something from someplace else that you could be putting it in. I just got before I met you, I got a note saying that a parishioner of ours who has been in a hospice for a good while just passed away. And, sometimes, you feel guilty. Thankfully, there are other pastors who can take some of that.
Yes.
But it doesn't prevent you from feeling I could have been there, or I could have given that person more time.
Yes.
And so I think it's inevitable. You always have to be in the tension, but I think you have to keep yourself there.
Yes, I think that's right. I find that my prayer life is so much more robust today than it was 2 years ago because there's so many issues that I don't know the solution. So that's been helpful. Perhaps something about leadership that sort of compels you to your knees has been helpful for me, and also reminding me of the things that are most important.
What is Gordon doing to strengthen the spirituality? We have talked about producing great leaders, great researchers and minds and so on. But of course, the foundation and the very essence of a Christian college is promoting healthy, intense spirituality.
Right.
How do you see Gordon doing that now, and perhaps any particular agenda that you have, points that you yourself would like to see Gordon do more of to produce that kind of leader?
One of the things that really struck me as I was getting to know the campus and getting to know our students was that there needed to be at least one time a year where there was a real sense of renewal of our faith. So a number of students become cynical while they're at a Christian college because they begin to become disillusioned. They see the foibles of people or of the institution, and they say, this is a Christian institution. Where's the godly living that's supposed to be here? So I felt convicted that we ought to do something that would bring together our community, a sense of renewal of our love for God and of our commitment to one another. So we launched a program called Deep Faith, which is where we bring in an outside speaker for sort of like a renewal or a revival experience where students would have a chance to make significant spiritual decisions, to really take stock of their life. We did it in February when there's more time for reflection and opportunity for students to be engaged. And we have Michael Ramsden from Ravi Zacharias Ministry spoke last year. We'll have Richard Mao, the president of Fuller Theological Seminary, will speak this year. I'm really encouraged by the response. We have 50 students who made significant spiritual decisions last year at Deep Faith. I myself was deeply shaped by the experiences sitting in those chapel services, and we had evening worship at 9 o'clock at night when the students really wanted to be there. And I remember on the first evening we were singing some music, and I paused and was simply listening to the folks singing around me. And in that moment, it was a deep sense of spiritual confirmation, because that particular initiative probably would not have come about if I had not been there, because it was something I really wanted us to do. And listening to those students singing at the top of their lungs, praise to God, in a chapel that was packed on a Monday night in the dead of winter in February at 9 o'clock at night, That really meant a lot to me, to feel like God's presence was here, and this is why I'm in this role. It's not because it was about me, but it was a sense of feeling the pleasure of being used by God to do something that could be helpful in the spiritual journey of our students. That's a great privilege and great opportunity.